Aaron.
Yeah.
Why didn't you say it the first time I said Aaron?
Because it's pronounced Aaron.
You done messed up, Aaron.
Aaron is right here. I'm joined by Reese Quibell. How you doing, Reese?
Hey, Aaron. Good to be back on.
Now, I went with the "You Done Messed Up" intro because that's a throwback to the first video we did that was titled, "I Accidentally Doxed One of My Sources, Reese Quibell." That was 4 months ago already.
4 months ago.
4 months ago that we did the video. The incident was much earlier than that.
New Year's Eve. Yeah.
New Year's Eve. Okay, so in the first video, honestly, it's been so long, I forget how much ground we covered in that video, but I constantly am asked in the live chat of my live streams, hey, what's the update on Reese? What's the update on Reese? And we've been talking about doing an update for it feels like a month or two now. But for those who didn't see the first interview, let's try to give a brief recap here. I'll do my best here. So you were born and raised in Scientology. In our first video, we discussed a lot of pretty horrific abuse that you were subjected to as a child working as a staff member for Scientology in Kansas City. And you and I were kind of like secretly in touch for a while. Your family is a well-known established family in Scientology in Kansas City. Your mother-in-law, your ex-mother-in-law, who you were still very close with, was one of the Scientology executives that was training full-time here in Clearwater, Florida, where I live, on Miscavige's super important golden age of administration evolution. And then let's tell everyone how I accidentally doxed you. So I was doing a live stream. I was screen sharing a video, and I was I do my videos with a MacBook Pro here that's got a trackpad, and I accidentally used too many fingers when I swiped, and it showed my text messages for about a quarter of a second. And turns out I had some text messages with you selected that popped up on screen. Yeah. It only took a matter of days for Scientology to start making your family members disconnect from you. Yeah. So if anyone wonders whether David Miscavige and his Office of Special Affairs is one of the biggest fans of SPTV, he can't stop watching, guys. He can't stop watching.
Yeah, it happened quick, didn't it? I mean, it happened fast. It was pretty immediate.
Yeah. And then not only that, but after the live stream was over, I went back and edited out that portion of the live stream, and I called you up and I said, there's a greater than 0% chance Scientology knows that we've been in touch. And I said, but look, they would only know if they were watching, if they're recording, because there's no way they would have caught it live. And then I went into the comment section of the video, and it was like, you doxed your source, you doxed your source, you doxed your source. And I was like, oh my God.
We talked about that. You were pretty frazzled about it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So then, yes, I got a phone call days later from Kathy Sullivan Otto that she had seen it and didn't know who you were. And remember, you guys have known each other just as long as pretty much Kathy and I have, which is decades, 35 years, 30 or so. So it happened real quick. Yeah. And I think we're just following up today on what's been going on since that video. It's even being, I just turned 39 a week and a half ago. And so being born and raised, I knew, even when we did that video, I went back and watched it and I was pretty chill about it. And I was like, I know it's happening and I'm going to lose everybody. And I lost everybody. And it happened really one after the next. And it was a lot more painful than I thought it was going to be. I think it's because it happened all at once. And I would say probably 100 people blocked me and, deleted me on Facebook. And I remember being real chill about that, going, that's going to happen. And when it actually happened, it was more painful. And I would say that I went through a couple of months. I don't really get depressed, but I felt really depressed. It happened. I even reached out to some people. I just saw that, guys. That's funny. I reached out to some people and tried to say goodbye. And one person out of probably the 50 plus messages I sent responded. My close field auditor who would fly here and audit me, I reached out to him and I said, hey, Michael Phillips, I think you know him.
I do know him.
Yeah, Michael Phillips, great guy. I really liked him. I said, I wanted you to know, I think I've been declared. And I just want to say thank you before you go away and I don't ever talk to you again. I want to say thank you for helping me and being supportive and, being my friend. And within 2 or 3 hours, I was blocked. He didn't say anything. Just gone. I couldn't reach out. He blocked me. And that went on. So that's just an example. That went on with so many people and actual closer people in Kansas City I reached out to. And I said, hey, I want you to know, I'm pretty sure I've been declared. I kind of want to reach out before it gets to you so that we can maybe have a discussion about it. And I can say my goodbyes to you. I was blocked immediately.
They don't even want to know what happened. No curiosity.
No, and that hurt. It was really painful. I don't know why, Aaron, but I know why. I mean, it's in the ethics book. When you get declared, you can state that, hey, you've been declared and I'm not going to have a communication line with you anymore, right? It's in the ethics book. I got my ethics book out recently and went through some things. I really expected some of these people to respond and say, goodbye. Yes, goodbye. And no one did except one person, Cynthia Smith, who's on the training program now at Flag. And I reached out to her a month and a half ago and I said, hey, I want to tell you thank you for being my friend. Your family is amazing to me. It's a shame, but I've been declared. And she wrote me back and she said, I didn't hear about this. I'm on the training program. No one's told me this. And I said, well, you may be the last to know, but it's happening. And she said, well, I don't just do things as I'm told. I need to find out first for myself. And I said, okay, well, you'll find out. And I want you to take care. And thank you again. And she said, you take care as well. And I was pretty moved by that. She was the only person. And within an hour, she had deleted me as a friend. And then within about 30 minutes after that, I was blocked. So, if you want me to narrow down more, I mean, I know we talked about, I think a lot of people were wanting to know what happened with Doug and Brenda. And those were my in-laws.
And that's the craziest story of all. I mean, it is so weird. Even in Scientology, even in the Scientology framework, it's weird. I mean, you and I were talking, you're like, can you help me understand how this could possibly be happening this way? And I'm like, there's no rhyme or reason to it. So Doug, you said Doug and Brenda. I want to make sure I don't get the names wrong.
Doug and Brenda Argitz.
So Brenda was your ex-husband's mom, who you've remained very close with, even though you're not married to her son.
I have a 13-year-old son. That's their grandparents. I have been closer in my life to Doug and Brenda than my blood family. And that has not changed, even though I'm remarried. We are very, very close. And we talked about that at length in the last video. Brenda was on the training program. Doug is here in Kansas City. And Doug has been in our lives more than Brenda always has been. Brenda's been a staff member for 38 years now or something. So Doug is a public in Kansas City, and he has been coming to my house, regularly, I would say. Regularly meaning 2-3 times a week. Dinners, coming to play football with my son. We would all go to movies, whatever. I mean, Doug was a huge part of our lives because, again, his wife's on the training program, right? So he's got family here and it's us. Yeah. Extremely close to my son more than anyone.
Yeah. SPTV Tattoo Warrior is asking if you have a YouTube channel. You don't, right?
I don't. And I don't know. I've seen you talk about that. And there's so many of them now. I just thought, should I not? I would love to. I just don't know if I would have followers like you would, but yeah, I would love to.
I think you certainly would. And we could certainly help you with that. In order for people to understand the strangeness of what you're about to describe with Doug and Brenda, can you briefly describe? There was some life incident that happened years and years ago, where everyone in the family kept a secret from Doug for a ridiculous amount of time. I don't remember the details. It was a divorce, maybe someone got divorced, but nobody told Doug. Like, what are the details there?
So Doug is just one that we've always tried to keep the interbulation or in theta off his lines. And what that means, interbulation and theta, is just bad news, basically. So years ago, when Michael and I, Huxley's dad, got divorced, Brenda, Doug's wife, said, "No one tell Doug that you're doing this."
So it was when you and your husband got divorced,
Doug's
getting divorced, got divorced. Nobody told his dad for how long?
9 months. We kept it.
Why?
I love your reaction. Well, I mean, that's how they've been a part of my life. For Huxley, my son is almost 14. And so it's been that way the entire time. It's no one put any in theta, which is, again, bad news, on Doug's lines. So Doug can't handle.
Go ahead.
Even though he's clear, he's done all the L's. He's, he's in good shape. He just did superpower. I mean, what is better than superpower? You should be able to handle that, I would think.
What is the reason people don't want to give Doug any bad news?
Honestly, Aaron, I think she just didn't want to deal with it because Doug is emotional and TRs don't work for him. He actually shows emotion like the rest of the human beings on planet Earth, I'm assuming. Doug cries all the time and shows emotion, and the rest of that family, the Argises, do not.
It's such an extreme set of circumstances where they're like,
the Scientology world was this way.
So when you say nobody told him for 9 months, does that mean like even after you guys were divorced, nobody told his dad for another 9 months?
Correct.
So in other words, that's how carefully they treat this guy because if he gets bad news, he goes downhill really quickly.
Correct. Yeah, he gets upset about bad news. Weird, right?
So the reason I wanted to frame that is because Doug is one of the closest, or your son Huxley and Doug are two of the closest people in each other's lives.
Absolutely. Very close.
And you felt that your son and Doug were so close, in fact, that Doug would divorce if he had to choose between his wife or Huxley.
I thought he would choose.
There was a 50-50 chance he might actually choose Huxley.
I was leaning toward Huxley, though. I really kind of thought he would choose Huxley.
And so you had that fact combined with the fact that nobody ever wants to tell Doug any bad news.
Nothing.
So what happened is, even when everyone was disconnecting from you, even when Doug's wife, who was at Flag, disconnected from you,
and his other son, Sam,
Doug kept showing up to your house to pick up Huxley for their little outings and acted like he knew nothing.
He didn't know. Nobody told him.
And so you were asking me, you were like, do you think he's just pretending not to know? And I'm like, I got no clue. I'm like, there's no way he couldn't possibly know. But this went on for so long. And then you tell me Doug has been called to Flag. And I said, well, they're going to tell him there. And you said, I don't think they're going to tell him. And I was like, you got to be crazy to think they're not going to tell him. But then, so what happened? What happened?
That's why, I remember saying to you, I don't think they're going to tell him because in this family, nobody tells Doug any bad news. So I thought 50-50 chance there too, that maybe they won't tell him. He went to Flag and he had been tutoring Huxley. Okay. So he was working with him on like math and science. Doug's retired. He doesn't have anything to do except go on course. So he's on his off course time. He's doing stuff with Huxley. So when he goes to Flag, he says, let's FaceTime and we'll still tutor. And I was like, great, that sounds good. I'm fine with that. We'll get our iPads out and do it. What did they do? I think they did one tutoring time. They did it once. And a week went by, and then we never heard from Doug. And then another week went by, and Huxley he was in swimming at the time, and he won first place in his swim meet. And he texted Doug and said, hey, I won. And we never heard back. And I just knew. I said, he knows. Somebody's told him. This is so unusual. This is what I mean. Doug can't fake it. And I think the trap was to get him to flag so we can drill down on his, coach him, TRs. How is he going to handle this? Harden him as much as possible so that he shows no emotion. Because anybody that knows Doug Argis knows the guy turns to mush. I mean, he's a great guy. He shows emotion. He loves his family. I never heard from Doug again, who's like my dad in life. I still to this day, I've never heard from him again. I asked Huxley to reach out again, and he did, and said, hey, when are you coming home? And Doug answered him, and he said, hopefully soon. And I just knew. Huxley is a really mature kid, and he wasn't really willing to put up with this distance, silence shit, So he called Doug, and I had to walk away. I couldn't even listen to the conversation. He called Doug, and it started with Doug answered, and Huxley said, hey, I wanted to talk to you, and I wanted to talk to you about, and Doug kept cutting him off. And he kept going, hey, how's swimming? He was totally misdirecting. And Huxley said, swimming's good. Hey, I wanted to talk to you. And he's like, hey, but did you ever pass on that math test? And Huxley was like, yeah, I did. I did great. I got a B. So I wanted to talk to, and Doug just kept doing that. It was like, and that's a good example of no one tell Doug, because Doug can't handle it. And it was clear that he couldn't handle it then. He was not doing so well. So Huxley, who never cries, I mean, he's almost 14. He's a pretty solid kid. He says, I want to talk to you about something now. And he's like, okay. And he said, I want to talk to you about, and Huxley just started bawling, like couldn't control himself. And he couldn't breathe. He was crying so hard. I just couldn't handle it. And Doug, he said, I want to talk to you about this video my mom did. And he was like, and the way you guys are treating my mom. And he said, I can't believe my son is, I love his thoughts. He said, it's sad to me that you cut my mom off. He said, because she didn't attack your church attacked her. And Doug was going, I got it. Understood. It was just like a session. It was gross. It was cold. And he said to Huxley, he said, I've known you for your 13 years of life. And he said, we've had a good 13 years. And yeah, I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle this. And Huxley's just hysterical on the other line. And I'm like, how do you not feel anything right now? And he said, if we don't ever see each other again, he said, you take care. And Huxley said, I don't want to disconnect from you. And he said, but I have to keep my mom in my life. And he said, you take care. And that was months ago. And I really crumbled from that. I had a hard time with that. I didn't expect it. And I really thought Doug would put up some kind of a fight. And you could tell that they had gotten him and drilled him so much. He had no emotion, Aaron, at all. It was gross. It was just, I got it. He was like, And that was that. And I really struggled with that. Again, I just struggled. And I asked Huxley about it the other day. I try not to bring it up because I don't know what to say. And I don't know if it's good or bad to bring it up. And he brought it up. And I said, how are you doing with that? And he said, I really thought that he would try harder for me. And he said, I'm really sad and I miss him. And he said, do you think he'll ever reach out to me? Like as an adult, he said, do you think it's over? Will I ever hear from him again? And I said, Huxley, I think that Doug loves you very much, but they're controlling what he does. I don't think it has anything to do with his love for you. It's a tough situation. And I really, for a couple months there, was feeling pretty low about it. So Never heard from Brenda. I mean, never. I've not heard from anyone. No one said goodbye except Doug to Huxley.
It's incredible. And so then you find out that Doug and Brenda, it seems that they kicked Brenda out of Flag, which we sort of predicted.
Yep, they kicked her out. She's back in Kansas City.
And they are both back in Kansas City. From all appearances, they kicked Brenda off of staff.
That's what it looks like from what I've heard.
We don't know for sure.
Yeah, we don't know for sure.
And I'm kind of mentioning that because I genuinely feel that Doug will eventually leave Scientology. Just based on what you've told me. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't.
I hope you're right. I don't get that feeling at all.
Oh, you don't?
No, I think I think he's true and loyal to his church more.
I forgot the additional aspect of craziness here. You are still on good terms and in touch with your ex-husband, who is Doug's son.
And Brenda's son. He's my...
And they're all in touch. So you're still connected to them through your ex-husband. See, this is an aspect of craziness where it's like they're just picking and choosing who they're going to enforce disconnection with.
Right. I don't understand that part. I'd like to understand that part. How are they getting around that? That is off policy.
Please remind me, was your ex-husband raised a Scientologist?
Yes.
Does he consider himself one now?
Not at all. He's very anti-Scientology.
It doesn't make any goddamn sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And I mean, truly, they were supposed to disconnect from him. For policy, they would have to. But they don't, and they have not.
Did your ex-husband say to you what he would do if his parents made him choose between them or his son?
I think he would just lie. Probably like, didn't you do that in the beginning until your nanny found out?
I did that for a few years.
I think that's what most of us would do, right? I mean, who are not in the bubble, who don't give a shit one way or the other, what rules to follow. I think Michael would just lie and say, yeah, I disconnected.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't talk to them anymore. I mean, I don't.
And they probably just wouldn't believe him, but don't ask, don't tell, you know?
Yeah, and they're such bizarre rules. I mean, from an outsider now, and I'm an outsider, it's like, I'm not going to follow this shit. No.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been really hard. And again,
yeah.
As a mom, I want to be there, but I don't want to overdo it with him and, talk about it too much. I would like him to maybe talk with somebody, a professional, but he doesn't want to. And I've brought it up many times because I am seeing someone now, and I'm really glad I am, and it feels good. But he has said, I'll let you know. I'm not comfortable with it though. And I don't want to push that.
Yeah. And we want to talk about that a little bit on the crazy discrepancy between what, as a Scientologist, we're all, as Scientologists, we're all taught to believe therapy meant or was like compared to the reality, which is 180 degrees different. There was something else I wanted to touch on before we went there. Oh, in our first video, we talked about some of the horrific sexual abuse you experienced as a young girl working as a Scientology staff member. And we named names in our first video, and I will put a link to that video up here, and I'll put a link to it in the description down below. People have wondered a little bit of a follow-up on that. Well, let's tell everyone a little bit of a follow-up. What happened? Some of the people we named actually reached out to you.
Yes, they did. One of them in particular, well, they both, I've reached out, two of them have reached out, and both have been amazing, like really, really kind. One of them in particular has said, it was touching, has said, like, I'm really sorry, I saw your video. Both of them saw the video and said, I'm really, really sorry.
Which is interesting all on its own, you guys.
I was shocked. I was shocked how many people had seen this video. And how, you know what I mean by that? How many people were still in the Scientology bubble watching like I was? I think there's a lot more than we realize. Don't you?
That's why David Miscavige is so afraid of SPTV. And he has a lot to be afraid of. So,
yeah.
Okay, so these people I just want to make it clear to everyone, they reached out to you basically admitting that what you were saying was true and agreeing to cooperate with any legal action.
Yes, agreeing, definitely said, I will be happy to be on a stand. I will be happy to testify, all those things. I was shocked.
And then someone in the video last time suggested you better go to the hospital and ask for copies of those records for that time you were sent to the hospital after that assault. And the hospital told you, oh, we don't have those records. And you went anyway, and they had them.
Well, yes. And I want to thank that person. I don't know. There was a few people. I do want to say that before I continue real quick. I just want to say, trying not to cry, I cannot believe how many people were so nice in those comments, Aaron. I was blown away. I was up all night reading comments and crying because I've never felt that kind of support. I just was blown away. I was so overwhelmed, and people are so much nicer than we're told. And I'm still blown away by that. I just, I want to say thank you to your audience. I want to say thank you to people who just said, hey, you've got an army behind you. We're here for you. All the people who were like, hey, make sure you do this, this, and this to cover yourselves. I mean, there was so much advice and just support of like, I'll buy your book if you get do that. I just, I want to say that. I want to acknowledge those people because my God, it was unbelievable. I felt like I had a million friends. All the people who reached out to me on Facebook, all of a sudden I had all these Facebook friends. I approved everybody. I was like, yes, yes, yes. Thank you, because my list was dwindling with the, people blocking me, and it was making up for that and made me feel loved. So thank you. I just want to say thank you. Huge thank you. But there was a woman that said, get to the hospital and get those records. I called the hospital. When did we do the video came out? I think
4 months ago.
Saturday or Sunday, and you went on your cruise. And so the hospital records office was not open until Monday. I left a voicemail on Saturday, and they called me back Monday morning and said, we don't have those records. You were 15 or 16. You're now 38. We would never keep those. And I knew that working in the medical field, it's a 7-year thing. So I was really bummed. And they called me back an hour later, a different girl. And she said, I just got your voicemail and I found the records. And I said, what? And she said, yeah, I found them, but we shouldn't have kept them. And I said, oh my God, I jumped in my car. I said, I'm on my way because somebody said, go get those records. So I show up at the hospital. I take Jeff, my husband, with me, and it's a huge hospital. We're at the top of an escalator, and there's a guy directing us on where to go to get to the records department. And I didn't take a picture. I have no proof of this. Okay. But I'm at the top of this escalator and we're going down, and it's right when they opened. I don't know, 9 o'clock in the morning. We're on our way. Right. I look down and there's a woman standing there on a cell phone at the bottom of the escalator. And she turns around and we make eye contact. And I swear it's Amanda O'Connor, which is Dan O'Connor's wife.
One of the people we discussed in the first video.
One of the people, and one of the first people who blocked me.
And, correct me if I'm wrong, if I don't have my stories mixed up, but was he not the one who sent you to the hospital that day? That day way back when, or was that, am I getting my incidents mixed up?
No, I mean, I'm assuming that's why I went to the hospital. Yeah, he was hitting me, punching me, hit me over the head with a fax machine. That's
right. Meaning you went to the hospital after a physical assault, not one of the sexual assaults.
Correct. I was peeing blood. Dan was on top of my body.
So it was Dan O'Connor's freaking wife who just happened to be at the hospital. Presumably, we're speculating to try and get the records that you were there to get.
And I'm speculating that too, because I'm going through my mind of all the people who are on staff at the Kansas City org. They're all old, right? Like it's a lot of, veteran staff. Amanda and I are the same age. We both have long blonde hair. I probably weigh 40 pounds more than her, but I feel like if if you're trying to get somebody to impersonate, you got to find somebody. So I think it was her. And I said, what the fuck is Amanda O'Connor doing here? So we made eye contact. She's on the phone and she immediately flips around and she flies down a hallway. I mean, this woman took off. And I'm at the top of this escalator and I was like, what just happened? Was it? I don't know. Again, normally it's more like me to snap pictures and I didn't.
It'd be easy for someone to say, oh, come on, you're making it up. You're paranoid. Not after the shit we've been talking about for the last 2 weeks. That'd be a Tuesday afternoon in Scientology.
Exactly. So I assume it was her. I mean, I'm not, I got a good memory and I know her face very well. And it was crazy. And she took off. And so when I did go get the records, I asked the lady, I said, did anybody come in here before me trying to get the records? And she said, no, we just opened. And I said, okay. And so I got them. And she said, you might want to hold on to these because we're going to destroy them now because we should have done this years ago. And I just was like, thank you so much. I'm just so happy I have that. So I wanted to say thank you to that person because it sounds like maybe perhaps, I don't know. I wouldn't put it past especially the O'Connors, right? That's the main person we were talking about in the video. And I would say Dan O'Connor is a pretty evil guy. Not stupid though. Like I would think he would say, Amanda, go over there and tell him you're Reese Quibell and get the records.
Oh, I've been saying your last name wrong this whole time?
Yeah. Really cheeky. Jeff always says when people say quibble, he says it's Quibell, but I don't quibble about it.
Quibell is so much fancier.
It's so fancy. It's French. It's okay.
Shit.
So that was crazy. That was really crazy. Anyway, we don't have to go on and on. I wanted to say thank you to people. I have retained a law firm, so they're working really hard. And I really like my attorneys. And so hopefully that turns into something. But, if it doesn't, I have to make my peace with it. I want people to be held accountable, though. I really do. I really hope that things do go through there because I want people to be put on a stand. I want my dad to be held accountable. These people continue to slip through the cracks. Don't you agree? I just feel
Absolutely.
it's enough is enough and they need to be named and held accountable.
I mean, your case, I mean, not even in a legal sense, but the whole situation, is just about as cut and dry as it comes. And you have actual evidence, which is a lot more than other people have had in the past.
Not just like a couple things. I have a lot. I have quite a few pieces of evidence.
A lot of good evidence, hard, physical, real world, from the time evidence.
Oh yeah, it's all from the time.
And I think that would even serve to bolster why would Scientology be so bold as to try to get somebody to go and impersonate you at the hospital to get these records. And it's like, because your case is pretty cut and dry. Lots of evidence. They have a lot to be afraid of is what I'm saying. A lot to be afraid of.
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't we jump over to the therapy issue?
Yeah.
The difference between a therapy session and an auditing session. So you're telling me you spoke to a professional therapist and they didn't immediately stick an ice pick in your eye? That's shocking.
I know it was weird. I thought for sure I was going to be tied down and what's the electric
Lobotomized?
Lobotomized? Yeah. I thought they'd like put a bite guard in my mouth and I would be shocked. That's what we're told. I can tell you, Brenda Argis in particular, over my years of knowing her, has said like how evil therapy is. And truly, she has said, if you see a therapist, you're going to be, committed against your will, and CCHR will have to come get you.
Baker acted, or depend. I guess I'm not sure if Baker Act is might be a state thing, but yeah, right. Or they didn't immediately put you on drugs and
no. And so I want to talk about that because there are so many people who are probably watching and are afraid of it. That and now I've gone through a couple therapists because it's like auditors for me. I was always kind of choosy about my auditors. I had some really, the most expensive one was $250 an hour, and I think I told you this the other day. It was like I went through the whole hour, and the whole time she was like, And I was like, look, I don't have any friends, but I can find one for this. I mean, I can find somebody and take them to lunch and get them to go, oh, wow. So I kind of got away from her. I found another lady, just okay. I just didn't feel, I want to be challenged, and I want a two-way conversation, not just me talking. So I did just find a guy that I really like. And he challenges me, and he said, he doesn't, the only thing about therapy, this is what I was telling you, I don't feel very bright. I've always been afraid of school and college, and my parents have always said, you should go to college. I'm like, no way. I shy away from that because we were raised in a freaking cult. I didn't go to high school except ninth grade. But for the first time in my life, going to therapy and seeing how much it helps, I'm like, I would love to specialize in helping people get out of Scientology. That's the hard part, is finding a therapist that even knows what the hell it is. So far, no one does. Every therapist I've seen, they're like, well, I think I've heard of it. It's just not as, they don't give a shit. It's not as important as Scientology makes themselves to be.
It's true. I mean, oh, I'm sorry. I cut you off. Go ahead. Keep going.
It's okay. I would just love to sit down and be that person for someone who's coming out. And I'm like, maybe I don't have to have a license. What if I just say to someone, like, I'm not a licensed therapist, but I can help you. I want to talk to you. No.
Don't say that. Don't say that. Scientology is going to start reporting you already.
I'm not doing that. But I'm saying, I really do. I don't know what it would take, but I'd love to be a counselor of some sort that specializes, because I think one day, coming in our future soon, I think we will be alive. I think people are going to come out of the woodwork, and people are going to need help. And you're going to want that help to know exactly what you dealt with. And I would love to help people that way. It's like, I finally found my passion. I feel like that's what I want to do. Now,
I'll tell you, when people,
I won't actually do it, but
when people contact the Aftermath Foundation for matters regarding therapy, uniformly, the complaint is they spend half of their very expensive therapy time explaining Scientology instead of just being able to tell their story.
Correct.
And it would be amazing. It would be amazing,
man. So it would be amazing, and I just think it would be so cool. I think it, just going, hey, I totally, like, even Scientology, you flip to another language, it's totally different lingo even. So it would be so cool to help someone who knows exactly, I know what they're saying, we understand each other. And that's the only hard part that I've found is, trying to explain all of that to a therapist. It takes time. But I just, I want to say that for the people who are watching, therapy is not, and they also, in Scientology, they tell you it's going to be very evaluative. They're going to tell you what's wrong with you. They're going to give you, they're going to have their little clipboard and say, well, it's because of this that you're this way. I wish somebody would do that for me. I begged, Brenda would always go, well, I don't want to be evaluative. And I'm like, well, I kind of want you to be, because I want to know what you think. Therapists don't even do it. Therapists guide you to think for yourself. The guy I'm seeing, he'll say, do you think that you do that? Like, is it connected to this? Let's think about that. Like, it's not like a, I wish somebody would say, I think you stem from this. You're a bit cray.
But see, there's also a difference between someone saying, do you think it might be relating to this, and saying it's because of this.
Correct. They don't do that.
And you and I were chatting about this, and what was interesting is that so Scientologists think, and this is the line. I'm sort of repeating what you just said. In any other type of mental therapy counseling, they tell you what's wrong with you, but in auditing, you find out for yourself what's wrong with you. And you and I were discussing so many different examples where, because of the auditing procedure, you are actually taught to censor yourself in an auditing session, and you're not able to just say how you feel. No. You could be in the middle of telling a story to your auditor, and if you say something bad that someone else did, even if it was true, even if it's relevant to the story, the auditor is going to go, have you committed a similar overt of your own? And an overt is a destructive act. So in other words, have you done something similar? And you're not allowed to say no, because the answer is yes from the auditor's perspective. That's why he's asking you. And so eventually you learn what you can say to an auditor and what you can't say to an auditor. It's the opposite of being able to communicate freely to someone.
Yes, you learn real quick. So I was going over this last night with Jeff, because to an outsider, to a WOG, which is someone who knows nothing about Scientology, it's hard to explain. But I was even pretending to hold the cans last night, and I was kind of giving it to Jeff, saying, my dad's name is Gene. We were like putting the sheets on the bed. And I was like, let's just stop for a minute. I got to tell you how this works. I need to get this out, because you can be sitting. And so eventually, in the beginning, when you're a Scientologist, you learn real quick to go, my dad did this and he's a terrible guy. Okay. Immediately they're going to pull your, what'd you do to him? So eventually you kind of start to curb that. And so eventually I was trying to go, he's not my favorite person, but he's a good guy. Like, so it's like you're trying to get it out, and you're in the middle of this story, and you might even be crying in this session, right? You're talking to this person, expecting them to listen. So I'll be sitting there going, and I just, my mom left and whatever, right? And they'll go, pull you out of what the hell you're doing. You're in the middle of talking, and the auditor will literally go, has Gene missed a withhold on you? On the question, has Gene missed a withhold on you? Has anything been suppressed? And then it goes on and on. And so you're in the middle of this like sadness, and they pull you out of that to go, here's a flashlight on your head. Where were you that night? What's your crime? And it sucks because I can't share then at that point. You stopped me, you interrupted me. And so now I have to feel bad, like I did something to him. And I often in session, I would say, you eventually come up with shit because you can't get out of it. And you're not getting out of there until your needle floats. But I would eventually just go, I didn't. No, I don't have anything. And if you think about that too, Scientologists are pretty clean people, as far as I know. Like, we don't commit crimes. So to sit there and go, have they missed a withhold? It's like, no, because we went in session yesterday, the day before that, and you pulled all my shit then. I don't have anything to tell you. You know what I mean? It's like, I got it off. You're making me feel worse about this.
Yeah.
So, and then the auditor will go, well, keep looking. Look a little harder. Look a little more.
And of course, if you're not comfortable or happy with what's happening in an auditing session, you're not allowed to leave. And you know that.
Correct. Literally, like barred from the door.
So, and it's so funny to think about that, because it's like they're telling you how bad therapy is. And yet therapy is the thing you can end anytime you want if you don't like it, but not true for auditing.
Not true for auditing. And I'll tell you, it's also a lot cheaper in the long run. Therapy. But no, seriously, you and I were talking about that, and I was comparing and thinking, I leave this therapist now and I feel so much safer. I feel so good about it when I leave, because he even says when we start every time, he's like, you can talk about whatever you want to talk about today, whatever that may be, So it's so freeing feeling to, and also bounce ideas off of him. And he's not going to go, well, what did you do? What are your crimes on that? It's sickening. And to do that, starting from, for me, the age of 4 or 5 up till I was 35, probably at my last session, you really do learn to fake it. And it's really twisted. But you don't think about that so much when you're in Scientology, Aaron. It's just the way. It's just the way.
Totally.
So yeah, that's interesting.
I also still think that Scientologists have this idea that it's like it was in the old movies where you go in and you like lay down on the couch. I mean, I don't know. Maybe some people have couches. I don't know. Did you lay down on a couch?
That would have been neat, but no, I was there. And they would put heat on your feet, even though I was hot as shit. They were like, well, you're not, the needle's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. So let's wrap some towels around you. And it was awkward as hell. It was weird.
Looks like you need some more hand cream.
My auditor would fart. And he was so belchy too. And he would like try not to burp. And I'd be sitting there crying, talking about some incident. And he was like trying to burp, and I was like, it stinks in here because you're farting.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I guess I don't know if a therapist, like an auditor, if they had to go to the bathroom in the middle of an auditing session. No, I guess you can take a break at a good point in an auditing session.
Only as the person being audited. The auditor can't just break.
True. Oh, it'd have to be at a good spot for the PC, and then you could take a break. But
right.
Yeah.
That was Scott Otto, Kathy's husband. He was my auditor. He farted
Wow.
all the time. I was like, isn't this against the auditor's code? Come on. This is a tiny room. There's like no fans. You got the heat going. I felt like I stepped into his ass, shut the door behind me. It was awful.
He's like, I'm sorry that the gross income was bad this week. We're on rice and beans.
I mean, it's just what it was. It was real and it was gross. And he was one of those like big guys, like sports dudes that like ate beef jerky all day. It stunk.
Oh my God. Yep.
Anyway,
You got the Scientology Dutch oven.
He did. He did. It was
Yep.
awful. Yeah. So was there anything else? I feel like there was maybe one other thing, but maybe not.
I think that was it.
I don't want to leave people hanging. I guess that was it. But
No, we talked about the update on the disconnection stuff, update on the lawsuit stuff. Wanted to comment on the therapy stuff. I think that's all.
I was just gonna say, my mom and Brenda were fairly close. And I also did want to point one thing out because I don't think I ever told you this. When they all deleted me, guess who kept me? Like 97 people all deleted me. All the Scientologists blocked me. Dan and Kathy stayed friends with me on Facebook. And I thought that was weird. I thought that was super weird because they were highlighted the most on the video. That was probably just flag saying, keep tabs on this person, right?
It's hard for me to say yes to that because if they wanted to keep tabs on you, you would think there's less obvious ways to do that than to keep the two of the primary people you named in your video, two of the most, Dan O'Connor's probably the most influential Scientologist in the Midwest or whatever. And he's the one who's going to keep you as a Facebook friend. Like, it just seems so stupid. That's why I said there's no rhyme or reason to it. It doesn't make any sense.
It was just weird. Oh, and then the, let's see. Oh, that's so nice. Look at how nice that is. That's so nice. I love your people.
I'll put it back up for you.
That's so great. I love that. I don't get that kind of validation. That's so nice. I'm serious. It's like brightens my whole day. Two things. My mom, Diane, who's like the nicest lady. She's most moms, big-hearted, right? She stayed friends with Brenda, even though I was like, Mom, get rid of her. But my mom's so nice. She's like, I don't want to. It's not, I feel bad. She posted a picture. My son Huxley went to be with my mom at the farm this summer for a little bit while he was off school. My mom rarely posts pictures of her grandkids. She posted a picture and Brenda deleted her then. I thought that was horrible. And then one other thing we didn't touch on, the PIs outside my house.
Yes, that's what you said.
I knew there was something. Since we only do this every 4 months, I wanted to cover it. The PIs, I've had a lot of PIs sitting outside my house, and I just take pictures. We've kind of gotten pictures of their license plates, but the reason it's so obvious, we live in a cul-de-sac. So it's not like it's obvious, right? Like if somebody's there. And it's been creepy. It's been real uncomf for me. I made Jeff start taking the dogs out after dark because I was taking them out before that. And now he does it just because I don't know. I don't know what to expect there. I don't think we talked about that. Do I need to be worried or are they just watching? My attorney said they're just keeping tabs.
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to do anything. But if you ever want to go out and ambush one of them with a video with your phone and send me the footage, I'd be happy to embarrass them.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Obliged. Yeah, I can do that.
That's the kind of shit that gets me excited.
I hear that. I feel the same way, really. I don't know.
Just walk up, knock on the door. Hey, buddy, how you doing?
I really thought of that.
You want some coffee? You need a Twinkie, a ho-ho? What, you good?
Are they allowed to get out of the car and go on property? We noticed one of them got out of the car and went into our backyard.
Well, they can't trespass. I mean.
Well, we don't have a fenced-in yard, so it's like no one really does. So it
doesn't matter. I mean, private property is private property.
Well, he kind of went beyond where the yard line was, and he was just standing behind that, like where the trees were. Yeah,
I would get video. I would take photos. I would actually. I mean, if I were you, I've had to say this a lot recently. In fact, when I say what I would do if I were you, that's not necessarily saying what you should do. But if I were you, I would go up to them and confront them politely and nicely on video and say, who are you? What are you doing? Are you working for Scientology? And I mean, that's what I would do. It's up to you, you know?
Okay. I mean, I don't have a lot going on throughout the days, so I'm happy to go out there and make contact. The worst part is having to walk around with clothes on. I wasn't doing that before, but my attorney says you probably should. That's just the worst part of all of this, having to cover.
No wonder the PIs keep parking outside of the house. Come on.
That's what Jeff says. He's like, put some damn clothes on, girl. It's summer.
Oh, that's funny.
Anyway, I think we're good. We'll do this again, in a few months. We'll just keep going. Quarterly. We'll do it quarterly. Seasonally.
Yeah. How about whenever there's something you really want to update people? Look, if you get stuff on the PIs, let's humiliate them. That's what we're here for.
Okay.
It's not just any old PI that'll take some bullshit gutter job from Scientology. They're the lowest of the low.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
We can do that. And then I guess that's all. if I do start a YouTube channel, I'll let you guys know. Aaron will let you guys know. I thought about it. It looks
totally. Because you'll come on that Monday night. We'll do a Monday Night Live. We'll do all sorts of stuff.
It seems like a good time. And again, I don't have much to do throughout the day. So sounds like
Perfect.
a good time. Okay. Well, again, audience, seriously, thank you. I think you guys are great. I read every comment. They were amazing. If I knew how to respond, I would, but not in these modern times. I don't really know how to function on that. Jeff could show me.
Huxley could show you, I'm sure.
Probably. But yes, I really mean it. Everybody was wonderful. So thank you.
All right, everyone. That's all from us for now. Thank you to everyone who watches until the very end, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe